Fun fact, there's actually a jail for polar bears. It's located in Churchill, Manitoba, Canada. This place is also known as the polar bear capital of the world. They have the biggest population of polar bears at 842. And some of these polar bears are more troublesome or dangerous than others. And those literally get sent to polar bear jail where they're held out of the wild for a certain period of time. And then they get relocated. But they actually have a record. And since they started pulling the problematic polar bears out of the wild, there are less polar bear human interactions. Therefore, polar bears are being killed less. The annual polar bear deaths went from 10 to 15 to, after opening up the polar bear jail, less than 1. You may have heard of the pistol shrimp, but they're even crazier than you think. It gets its name because when it snaps its claw, it creates a sound at 218 decibels, louder than a gun. Not to mention, when it snaps its claw, it shoots a stream of bubbles out that reach temperatures of 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 4 times hotter than lava and almost the temperature of the sun, coming from a shrimp. It's so powerful that the process that heats up the sun, fusion power, is able to be replicated through the pistol shrimp.
I think it's just a known fact that the cuter an animal is, the more they really are. Cause squirrels are cute until you remember they butcher and cannibalize any squirrel babies they find. Platypus are cool until you remember they can put you in a hospital for months. Happy Feet seems innocent until you remember that Adelie penguins will literally run a train on the frozen corpse of another penguin, and if that weren't bad enough, they're also pedophiles that will literally chick to death. Meerkats were cool in that one movie, but outside of Disney, the alpha female will personally abort any kids that aren't hers and then force the other females to raise her children. I'm not even going to talk about them. Even rabbits aren't safe because they've been known to overpower and attempt to Cosby cats. There's apparently several videos of this happening. I say apparently because I have not seen it. I saw the thumbnail, and it was enough. You know what, I'm not giving these demon weasels a pass. The male sea otter will force the female's head underwater until she's quoting Billie Eilish. Even after she drowns, the male will continue to violate her now lifeless body while biting her face. And they do this exact same thing to baby seals. They've also been seen clapping dead dogs and dead birds. Moral of the story, if it's cute, respectfully walk the other way. 10 things you didn't know about this guy. Those weird feather things on its head are actually part of its gills that help it get more oxygen. They're only found naturally in one place in the world, and it's in the lakes and canals of Xochimilco, Mexico. They can regenerate the same leg 5 times, and they can regrow their jaw, spine, and even parts of their brain. Axolotls can be taught to recognize their human owners and even respond to hand signals. Axolotls are massive introverts that only tolerate each other's presence to make babies. They're not with the child support though, they'll lay over 1,000 eggs and then peace out of their lives forever. They play dead as a defense mechanism, but sometimes they'll do it in aquariums when there's nothing around. Since they're legally blind and will eat literally anything near their mouth, sometimes they accidentally cannibalize each other. Luckily, if their arm gets bitten off, they can grow it back. Their nickname is the Mexican walking fish, but they're not fish, they're actually amphibians. Axolotls are actually 1,000 times more resistant to cancer than mammals. Yo, nature really missed us with all the upgrades, but they gave it to this Mexican salamander. In the wild, axolotls never reach their adult form, but if you inject them with iodine, they turn into this. They basically evolve like Pokemon, and technically this is what they're supposed to look like. Speaking of which, this is an axolotl.
Have you ever wondered what goes on inside the cocoon when a caterpillar is in there? Well, let me tell you, it's probably not what you think. The standard thought is that the caterpillar goes in there, changes form, and grows wings. In reality, the caterpillar doesn't just grow wings. It completely liquefies and becomes a goo while it's in the cocoon. Literally just goo. And to take it a step further, if you train a caterpillar to dislike a certain stimuli, the caterpillar can keep that memory and discard that stimuli when reforming as a butterfly. The more you know.
Going from that leaf over there to that. How does the spider bridge that gap?
So the short answer is spiders can fly, but the science behind it is awesome. So spiders can spin what are called gossamer webs, which are really light and silky webs like the ones you see on bushes. And they can electrically charge this silk with a negative charge as it's released. And since leaves and the ground and all of nature is also negatively charged, it's like a magnet. It'll begin to repel the spider. And since there's positive ions everywhere in the atmosphere, opposites attract, and that'll begin to pull the spider up. This whole process basically allows the spider to defy gravity. And spiders have been known to use this technique to travel hundreds or even thousands of miles. Follow for more fun facts.
You're not gonna believe who this skeleton belongs to. Now you might think that whatever this thing is, it went extinct like the rest of the dinosaurs. But the truth is, not only is this thing still alive, you've definitely seen it before, either on Animal Planet or Disney Channel. That is actually the skeleton of a platypus. This skull was believed to belong to an ancient cyclops that would eat your entire family reunion for breakfast. Whenever a village would uncover this skull, everyone would collectively defecate enough bricks to build a new city. They basically got memed by nature, cause that's actually an elephant. Now this has to be an alien, right? Cause there's no way this bug-eyed Martian spawned on this planet. Well, it did, and it's not an alien. It's actually an owl monkey. Now this either looks like an extra from Jurassic Park or the Little Mermaid after swan diving into the Hudson River. I'm from New Jersey, I can make those jokes. And the more you look at it, the more it looks like it belongs to some terrifying flying demon. Comment what you think this is, I guarantee you're wrong. You're gonna kick yourself when I tell you. Oh, you guessed? Okay. If you didn't say manatee, you were wrong. Now you probably already know what this is. This skeleton belonged to a green anaconda which can weigh over 500 pounds and turn you into a hashtag with a soul-evicting hug. Koala facts, but I slowly destroy your innocence for 60 seconds. They eat nothing but eucalyptus, but if you took it off the tree and put it on a plate in front of them, they would stare at it and starve to death because koalas are not good at koaling. The only way they can eat this is by gaining a special gut bacteria which they get by eating their mother's backdoor fudge. Every koala has done this. Koalas can be vicious psychopaths. Some people broke into a zoo to steal a koala and left with a crocodile because that was easier than handling a pissed off Bundy bear. Koalas have fingerprints identical to humans, meaning they can contaminate crime scenes, and with 7 billion people on Earth, at least one is in jail for something a koala did. They don't hug people, they're using your body to cool off because this genius thinks you're a tree. Most koalas have incontinence, meaning they pee themselves uncontrollably. Which leads right into the next fact because as you probably already know, 90% of koalas are infected with chlamydia. But you probably didn't know that 10% contain a strain that can be passed on to humans. Or should I say pissed on to humans. Males don't recognize the sign that a female is in heat, so he'll just rape first and ask questions never in a process that can knock the female out the tree. Because the sound of this attracts more sexually frustrated males, the female gets run through like a track meet. She gets choo-chooed against her will.
Moose are incredible creatures, and they're really good in the water. In fact, moose can dive like 30 feet to eat the vegetation on the bottom of a seabed. And because of this, it actually makes orcas a natural predator of moose. Here's a crazy fun fact that might upset some Disney fans. The color of a lion's mane is not consistent. It changes depending on the well-being of the lion. It's directly correlated off the nutrients in their body, their testosterone levels, and simply their energy. And the darker the mane, the healthier the lion. And usually when you see a lion with a really dark mane, it's almost always the alpha. That's because when a lion has a dark mane, that means he's eaten good, testosterone is high, which means the cubs will be strong leaders. It makes him more attractive to the lioness. And he'll heal a lot faster from any battle, which would make lions from other prides completely want to avoid him, which means they make great leaders. And therefore, Scar should have been the king.
You're gonna regret that comment, quokka facts, but they somehow get more and more disturbing. They live on Rat's Nest Island, named after Rat's Nest because the first people to see them thought they were rats on steroids. But they're marsupials related to kangaroos and koalas. They're cute, but they have plant-crushing teeth, and they won't hesitate to use these little hole punchers on you if you get too close. People forget that these are wild animals and not plush toys, and they get bit as a result. That kid got checked right in the forehead. Mother quokkas have insurance policies on her children because she has an egg called a blastocyte that'll start developing if her first kid gets third-party aborted. That would be like your own mother having a replacement clone ready in case you get put on a shirt. Because her child is replaceable when chased by a predator, Mother of the Year will sacrifice her baby. She doesn't eat her own child to its death the way memes seem to think she does, but she does loosen the muscles on her pouch so her baby falls out. On purpose, by the way. But the really messed up reason this works is because the baby hisses and screams when it hits the ground, getting the predator's attention. So the mother gets away while her baby gets taken off the census. Since quokkas have huge cycles of births and deaths, if you go to Rat's Nest Island at the wrong time, you'll see more quokka skulls than your mental health will be able to handle. Stop telling me to ruin animals, I'ma keep doing it. Here are some animals you didn't know could outrun you. Crocodiles can do the dash anywhere from 15 to 22 miles per hour. If one does chase you, take that zigzag advice and throw it out the window. Not only does it not work, you're likely to slip and turn yourself into a headline. Wombats are furry boulders that can cripple cars and hit speeds of 25 miles per hour. Meaning this athletic ball of fluff can keep pace with Usain Bolt and get a ticket in a school zone. And when they apply pressure, you'll feel like you got hit with a bowling ball with ears. Koalas can do the sprints at 20 miles per hour, even though they run like something nature didn't finish editing but posted anyway. Their running animation may have Ronnie 2K written all over it, but they've been known to chase down cars. Hippos can write your death certificate and hand it to you at 30 miles per hour. Nature gave them big bodies, stubby legs, and malicious intent. The result is one of the cutest and most terrifying things Africa has to offer. Just look at him go. A motivated hippo's fast enough to take gold in the Olympics every time while putting names in the newspaper. Life is survival of the fittest, which is why I've been using fitness codes to customize my own at-home workouts, so if a koala ever pulls up on me, I will be ready. If a hippo presses me, at least my corpse will have a six-pack.
It would be very close. You're saying that like the hippo would get destroyed. The biggest polar bears are around 1,500 pounds, whereas the biggest hippos are like 4,000 pounds, more than double their weight. And just look at that. The polar bear's head fits in that. And by the way, if you count hippos as a land animal, they have the strongest bite force of all land animals. I'd say it's pretty 50-50. Oh, and one last fun fact. You should totally head over to my YouTube and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Bees are amazing, but the queen bee is especially fascinating. Unlike the other bees, the queen bee literally never leaves the hive. She'll leave one time in her whole life for 1 to 2 days to mate, and she'll never mate again. After that, the queen's whole existence revolves around laying eggs, where she'll lay 2,000 eggs a day, or about one every 43 seconds. And she doesn't eat honey. The queen only feasts on royal jelly. It's a special chemical that comes from the worker bees that's kind of like honey, but far more desirable. It has way more nutrients, like extra vitamins and a whole lot of protein. And that's how they create a new queen. When the queen is no longer fertile, they'll take a whole bunch of royal jelly and feed it to the larva. It's so high in nutrients that it triggers the growth of working ovaries. And once the new queen is chosen, they get rid of the old one.
New challenge alert. I'm gonna give y'all 10 animal facts, comment how many you already knew. And be honest. Butterflies technically have 12,000 eyes that let them see in basically every direction. Chimpanzees are genetically more related to us than they are to gorillas. In lion society, darker manes are seen as more desirable because they indicate better health and higher testosterone, and lions are low-key a little colorist. The 9-banded armadillo will always give birth to identical quadruplets, and they can postpone their pregnancy for up to 3 years if they feel like it. Sharks have been around longer than trees and the rings of Saturn. Polar bears have black skin. They only look white because their hollow hair reflects sunlight. The reason zebras have stripes is because it confuses insects and keeps disease-causing flies from landing on them. When a red squirrel finds a baby, it'll either raise it as its own if it's related, or murder it and mate with its mother if they're not related. Sharks are attracted to heavy metal because the sounds remind them of struggling prey. The Falkland Islands, and no guidelines, I did not curse. These islands have an area covered with minefields, making it a death sentence for any human to walk on. Since penguins are too small to trigger them, they just vibe out in the minefields where no poacher can reach them. If you knew at least 7 of these facts, congrats, you passed. Follow my Instagram for a cookie. This is actually one of my favorite series. It's called Animals That Are Way Bigger Than Your School Taught You. Yeah, that's a goddamn turtle. The leatherback can grow to 7 feet long and weigh 1,500 pounds. Because when it comes to turtles, you have the pets you can hold in your hand, and you have refrigerators with flippers. Oh, and this is what their mouth looks like. The Andean condor is one of the biggest bastards with wings, with a 10.5-foot wingspan. This guy has a 7'3" wingspan, and his arms are longer than a Monday. Luckily, they only eat already dead animals, so they're perfectly harmless. But nobody ever told him that. Also, this dinosaur can live for 70 years. That is what a gorilla's hand looks like compared to a human's. And we should all take a moment to be grateful that gorillas rarely choose violence, because those myths could easily slapbox their soul into a factory reset. You probably forgot how much of a unit Appa really was. At 9 feet 2,200 pounds, the American bison is literally the biggest threat to American idiots everywhere. Not only is it a truck with legs that can charge at 40 miles per hour, as you can see from this picture, actions have consequences. Meet Patrick, the largest wombat to ever wombat. This furry tank can cripple cars, and they use their thick to crush predators that get too close. Only in Australia could a plush toy take on a Honda and win.
What would happen if you put every primate into a battle royale? We're doing top 7, and in 7th place is a baboon. Baboons are tough, and inside that mouth, they got 2-inch fangs. But they only weigh about 50 pounds. I think they cap here. The next one out is a mandrill. You already know Rafiki's gotta make the list. They're literally just like a bigger version of the baboon. The next one out is the bonobo. And this starts the great apes. It's like a smaller version of a chimpanzee. The next one out is the chimpanzee. Chimps weigh almost 150 pounds, so they're like 50 pounds heavier than the bonobo. They're hyper intelligent, they're super strong. I don't think I need to explain a chimp. That's terrifying. The next one out is a human. This one depends on who you have representing the humans. If we got Mike Tyson or like me, oh, it's over. Next one out is an orangutan. 300 pounds of pure power. And the gorilla wins. What is the most successful predator amongst all cats? It's not the lion, who only has a predatorial success rate of 20%, or even the cheetah with a success rate of about 55%. But instead, it's this little fella, the African black-footed cat. Despite only standing about 8 inches tall and weighing 2 to 4 pounds, they have a predatorial success rate of 60%. And that's not even the craziest part. Scientists say they have an accelerated metabolism, and as a result, they pretty much hunt non-stop. They said the black-footed cat catches 1 prey per hour, or about 10 to 14 catches a night. which is about the amount of catches that leopards get in 6 months. And to keep a 60% success rate with that kind of volume means this cat is the real deal.
Every animal in the world, if they had to fight, who do you have winning everything in the
Tigers.
end?
If you put every animal into a battle royale, it would go something like this. We'll do top 7, and in 7th is a lion. They may be the king of the jungle, but they're not the king of battle. Sorry, Joe, but the tiger would fall in 6th. They are more dominant than lions, and they're the true king of the jungle, but they stop here. Next one out is a brown bear. Almost 1,000 pounds, and they're just too powerful. They can one-shot a tiger. Next one eliminated is the even more dominant bear. It's just like a brown bear, except bigger, thicker skin, and fully carnivorous. The next one out would be a hippo. They're kind of cute, but don't sleep on them. They weigh 3,500 pounds, their mouth opens 4 feet wide and closes with an 1,800 pound bite force. Next one out is a rhino. Their horn is like over a foot long, and they weigh like 6,000 pounds. And nothing beats an elephant.
This is a challenge for the animal lovers. Comment how many animal facts you already knew, and you need 7 to pass. A squid's brain is donut-shaped with its esophagus running through it, meaning a squid could accidentally give itself brain damage if it swallows something big enough. The largest land mammal in the world is the African elephant, but it would take 40 of them to equal one blue whale. Hippos secrete a red oily substance that protects their skin but makes it look like they're sweating blood. Also, their milk is pink. This looks bad, but it's actually 2 flamingos using red crop milk to feed their chicken. They're one of the few birds that actually do this. A study was done on which mammals were most likely to kill a member of its own kind, and by far the most murderous and homicidal mammal in the study was the meerkat. If humans didn't exist, the smartest animals in the world would actually be dolphins, except the ones in Miami. A narwhal's tusk is actually a sensitive inside-out tooth that they use to flex on females. Dogs sneeze while playing to let you know they don't mean to hurt you. Alligators don't age like normal animals, they just keep growing until injury, disease, or starvation claps them. If everything goes right for them, they could live to 100. The manchineal tree is the most toxic in the world, and eating one of the apples is an instant death sentence, unless you're a black-spined iguana. Comment your score. Animal skeletons that might change the way you look at them. For years, people believed that the skeleton belonged to a demon or some kind of dragon. This carcass was known as Jenny Hanover, but it was commonly called the devilfish. What it actually was actually a dead sea skate. Now imagine discovering new land and finding the skulls of one of Satan's pets in your backyard. You probably pack up your favorite family members and leave expeditiously, and I wouldn't blame you. This is what the first people to see that skull probably thought it looked like, but this is what it actually looked like. Next time you think to yourself life isn't fair, remember this picture. This animal got folded by its own skeleton after getting skull checked by its own teeth. This skull may look like a sadistic prank from nature, but it's a way of life for the Barbaroussa. It's an Indonesian wild pig whose destiny in life is to get clapped by his own overbite. Man has too much on his mind. Now what if I told you this beast was still alive somewhere at the bottom of the ocean? Now imagine going to the beach and knowing this Jurassic Park reject was in the same area code as you. And what if I told you this same beast could turn you into a hashtag without even touching you? Well, then I'd be talking about the sperm whale. Living proof that nature didn't fall all of its rough drafts.
This is gonna be the craziest thing you've ever heard. This is an anglerfish. When a male anglerfish finds a female he likes, the next step is crazy. He will latch himself onto the female and begin to release a special enzyme. The enzyme will melt his skin and begin fusing him with the female. In this process, the male will lose an eye and multiple organs, and it will continuously melt and fuse until they share the same bloodstream. They literally become one after mating. If you're a fan of Jurassic Park, then you're probably a fan of velociraptors, as they were one of the focal points of the entire series. And like everyone, you've probably asked yourself what you would do if you ever ran into velociraptors. Good. That would be terrifying, right? Not as much as you'd think. To make the velociraptor scarier, the creators of the movie blew up the size. In reality, the velociraptor was only the size of a turkey. Animals have some wild defense mechanisms. This is a rib newt. It can literally shoot its ribs at you, and its ribs are toxic. This is the hagfish. It looks so biteable, but if a creature bites it, they get a mouthful of slime that they can't get out and they choke on. This is the boxing crab. They call him that because he puts these little white things on and punches. But those white things are living creatures that sting you. The boxing crab uses another creature as his gloves. This is a sea cucumber. It literally spits its organs. This is a slow loris. Their sweat is venomous, and if they feel threatened, they'll just lick their own sweat and bite you.
Animal skulls you're gonna wish you went your entire life without seeing. People call this animal a demon, so it makes sense that its skull looks like it's throwing up gang signs. I'm giving you the chance to scroll. Are you sure you want to know what this is? It's a chihuahua, and you know what? You shouldn't be surprised. Now apparently there's a good amount of people that forgot that snakes have bones, so here's a king cobra skeleton. One x-ray and it goes from a death rope to a homicidal slinky. This is the skull of a python, and notice they have double hinged jaws that allow it to swallow things bigger than its head, so I want you to remember this image when you're trying to sleep at night. Now this skull actually belonged to one of the most aggressive and dangerous predators to ever live. Now we believe they went extinct a while ago, but there's evidence that they might still be alive. Any guesses? Probably not, because I lied. It's a rabbit. Now whatever this belongs to, it looks like it honestly shouldn't be alive. Like nature accidentally uploaded one of its drafts and had to vault it for the sake of humanity. I'll give you time to guess, but you'll never guess what this is. You give up? It belongs to an elephant seal. But this has to be by far one of the most cursed skulls I've ever seen. And the more I look at it, the more I feel like I'm getting flipped off by a carcass. I'm not even gonna tell you what this is. I'm gonna let the comments do it for me.
People gotta stop sleeping on hippos, and I'm gonna drop some facts why. Hippos weigh about 3,500 pounds. To put that into perspective, that's about 3 times the weight of a polar bear, the biggest bear. A hippo can also run 30 miles an hour. Their mouth can open 4 feet wide. That's big enough to fit a sports car inside. And when it closes with an 1,800 pound per square inch bite force. The only creatures that are more than that on the planet are crocodiles and sharks. And if that doesn't make them scary enough, their sweat is red. It looks like blood pouring off of their body. A hippo is pretty close to the top of the food chain. Here's some crazy facts about your favorite creepy crawlies. There's over 45,000 species of spiders. And they range in size from this microscopic spider to the Goliath bird eater, which eats birds. Spider silk is actually a liquid, and then it hardens due to the atmosphere. Not to mention, spider silk is the second strongest natural material on the planet. 5 times stronger than steel threads the same size. And if they can't find food, they can use the silk as a food source. They can eat it. And they can spin like 7 or 8 different types of silk, depending on what the job is. They have 8 legs and 6 joints on each leg. They have 48 knees. Spiders are literally everywhere. Scientists say that you're never more than 10 feet away from a spider.
What would be the rudest animal? It'd be dogs, and it wouldn't even be close.
Now hear me out. If animals could talk, there'd be 3 animals we'd have to worry about. One would be cats, because they would straight up passive aggressive us to death. You could tell your cat to get off your laptop so you can work, and he would really look you in the face and say, "Oh, my mistake. I didn't know 3 hours of Netflix and 2 hours on Instagram and 15 minutes of typing was work. I'm sorry, but you know, what do I know? I'm a cat." Or you feed them and they say something slick like, "Hey, so Max next door gets gourmet cat food, but I guess when you don't have student loans you can afford it. How is that art degree working for you?" It'd be nonstop violation. Next would be squirrels, because they would just be constantly begging for food. And they would definitely have the same energy as that one uncle that just needs a couple of bucks to get back on his feet, but then a week later he's right back at your door with no job but the freshest pair of Jordans. They would just be bushy-tailed bums. This would be the worst of all. Because if dolphins could talk, they would literally sexually harass the entire ocean. They would catcall people on boats like stereotypical construction workers. And considering all the messed up things dolphins do, their locker room talk would actually be illegal. Also get the impression that dolphins would not be shy from using slurs. Dolphins would really treat life as a modern warfare chat.